The essential junior year question: what is American about American literature? Simply put, American literature could be as simple as any book that's written here, but the real answer lies farther down, and it's more diverse than we think it may be. After all, Americans must have a trait that sets us apart from the rest of the world, especially those filthy commies. Through the analyzation of three key American works of art, Walden, The Great Gatsby, and Native Son, we came to the conclusion that American literature is about the American dream. J. Gatsby from The Great Gatsby, Bigger Thomas from Native Son, and Henry David Thoreau from Walden all exhibit one thing. They all search for the American dream, which we feel is to live a life that one wants to and that one is happy with. The American dream lifestyle may differ from each character, but they all strive for the same goal, to live a life that they want to live. J. Gatsby struggles with finding his true love. Bigger Thomas struggles with finding racial freedom and racial equality. And Henry David Thoreau just wants to escape society and live on his own in the woods.
The novel The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald is an example of American literature that expresses the thirst that every American person has within them of achieving the American dream. J. Gatsby, originally James Gatz, forms a vision of the American dream where he seeks to obtain his one true love, Daisy. To achieve his goal, he needs one very important thing, a fortune, with enough power to recreate the past, even though summer-long friend Nick Carraway warns him of the dangers of this. The idea of the American dream begins with his childhood ambitions. He dreams of living a much more extravagant lifestyle than the one he was raised with. J. Gatsby was raised by a working-class family from North Dakota. He always dreamed of a greater fortune after being inspired by the man who mentored him from the start, Dan Cody. Gatz worked with Mr. Cody for years, being influenced by his success to yearn for the same. James Gatz changes his name, beginning a new lifestyle for himself, one that both he and his parents could finally be proud of.
Gatz became Gatsby, who embodied every single one of Gatz's desires. As a man who made his money by running illegal alcohol rings from drugstores, Gatsby progresses from lonely farm worker's son to the man set on finding a fortune to finally the Great Gatsby.
J. Gatsby also had another dream, the dream to have love, but not just any love. J. Gatsby wanted the love he left behind when he went to war. He wanted Daisy Buchanan. Daisy was the inspiration for Gatsby to throw wild and extravagant parties. She was also the reason Gatsby moved to West Egg to flaunt his new money. Gatsby held lavish parties in the hope of attracting the eye of Daisy Buchanan. He fantasized about her return to him, and used his money as a way to attract her. His idea of the American dream was to obtain and live with the love of his life and to be wealthy. He would watch over across the bay, gazing at the green boat light, in hopes of Daisy returning to him. Nick Carraway describes J. Gatsby's hopes and thoughts of Daisy's romanticized return as Gatsby's dream. J. Gatsby achieved his dream of earning millions and creating a fortune to reconnect with his love, and he almost succeeded. Alas, J. Gatsby was shot while on his path to achieve his lifestyle. There was no benefit he was able to reap. Regardless, he ambitiously followed what he considered to be the path of the American dream. He did what he needed to do to live the life he felt that he deserved.
Bigger Thomas deserves racial equality and freedom. Yet his entire life has consisted of his basic humanities being denied. Accused of rape and murder without a shred of evidence, Bigger runs from the law, turning him from innocent to guilty in one fell swoop. Bigger is constantly at war with himself because of his constant two-sided battle. On one hand, he knows he deserves freedom, but on the other hand, the oppression was pushed so far into his head that even he began to believe it. This discrimination tears into Bigger. He dreams of a world without the constant racial battle going on both in himself and in the culture he lives around. His dreams, specifically because of his background, and by background I mean the lack of any personal space in the south side of Chicago, are violent. He seeks freedom through unjustifiable acts of violence. His American dream ends up as a murder of both sides of both of his inner struggle and the outer culture war, the murders of White Mary and the Black Betsy. Bigger's satisfaction after both killings is nothing more than his realization that, to him at least, the racial battle is over. To Bigger, he has achieved his dream, at the cost of the lives of two other people. To Bigger, Mary represented both the race that hated him and the single person that treated him like a human being. Once Bigger achieves what he considers to be the American dream of freedom for all, he becomes satisfied. Reality eventually sets in though. He gets a taste of what equal power and equal rights are like, but it is only a matter of time before Bigger realizes that he is still black, and he is still being hunted by the white cat.
Henry David Thoreau is an American author who wrote world-renowned theses and memoirs about the time he spent living amongst nature at Walden Pond. He was a true American visionary, a maverick in his own way. As an onlooker to the illustrious and aged traditions of the United States, Thoreau saw injustice in his life. He had his own way of thinking. He wanted to live among the nature he so deeply cared for, spending his time pondering, reading, imagining. Back home, there was simply no time for the psyche of any pensive person to develop positive means. He lived within reach of the town for when he needed more supplies. Thoreau bathed in the lake each morning, supplied himself with his own food, and spent most of his time writing or reading. Thoreau himself was a transcendentalist, which meant that he refused to conform to another perspective of life. Although others attempted to influence him, Henry David Thoreau kept his unique view of the big blue planet we call Earth. He grew up alongside society, and the lifestyle that most people have been conformed to. But he broke separate to make the point that his American dream also marches to the beat of its own drum. His dream is to live away from others, to be his own man. By living out among the wild, Thoreau proves that most of us are too involved with money and assets. He proves that one can live with just the bare necessities.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities are Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam.
Thoreau was an advocate of truthfulness. In his noteworthy journals at Walden Pond, entitled Walden, Thoreau writes,
"Rather than love, than money, than fame, give me truth."
He prided himself on his honesty, both with himself and with others. For many, it would be an incredibly difficult decision to stand up and walk out on the life most of us have been accustomed to. But Thoreau's honesty in his thinking led him to be able to leave as suddenly as he did.
Thoreau left the community he was living in to fulfill his version of the American dream, living away from others and instead with nature. Thoreau's intelligence and his honesty allowed him to pursue his American dream and live solitarily amongst nature. From Henry David Thoreau's search for solitude, Bigger Thomas's search for racial freedom, and Jay Gatsby's search for his one true love, we see just how important the American dream really is. We see each character represent each corner of a triangle that symbolizes the one thing Americans live for, the American dream.